When I'm thinking Salt Lake, Moanalua, first I hear Salt Lake, I think of Ice Palace, the stadium. I think of Cross Point. You know Cross Point, the town hall? The Great Aloha Run. Think of the swap meet. I think of a lot of concrete. All the military bases, so you're right there at Shafter, Tripler, Pearl Harbor-Hickam. I think of you're right next to the Navy Exchange, so if you're military, you have that right there. The airport. I think of a better commute to town, to the city. Anyways, we're entering Foster Village. Foster Village is like the community I think of when I think of Salt Lake. I think of Cross Point, and I think of Foster Village. You see, can you get that house? Like in Waipahu, you're gonna have these the tiled roof, 2-story. A lot of times some kind of balcony, so you can come out. And I bet you, I'd bet you there's no grass. I bet you it's all concrete. And in the Kalihi video, which is kind of like Waipahu, we talked about that too. Like, there's no grass. A lot of times it's like this, where I don't know why do they have no grass?
It's easier to clean.
Easier to clean. So no grass, but then a ton of potted plants. And then an iron gate. That's Waipahu Kalihi.
Starter pack.
Starter pack, yeah, that's the Waipahu Kalihi starter pack. In Waipahu and Kalihi, there's no association. So one house might have, well, here we have the full spectrum right here. So in Mililani, I don't know the Mililani Town Association rules for sure, but I know I just don't see all of these fence types, so there must be rules. So you might have like no fence and just grass, a white vinyl fence, which is like your modern white vinyl, concrete, so concrete, and then the concrete pattern, like that house has the concrete pattern as well. Iron gate, chain link fence is there, chain link fence right here where we're standing. So these guys actually have a like really nice yard. You can tell they take care of their yard super well. They've chosen their own trees and take care of their yard really well too. So just an array, that along with the exposed power lines, but the sidewalk. If you look at like Honolulu, as population really started to sprawl, I wouldn't doubt it if this was one of the first kind of planned communities, sidewalks in mind. Some repeating home styles, I don't know for sure. So if you're the wiki expert or whatever, fact check me in the comments. But it seems like this is like that 1960s first planned community, or one of them as things sprawled away from Honolulu. Behind me, the ocean's over there. Pearl Harbor-Hickam is kind of that way. And then if we spin, you see the mountains and the valley. That's actually a pretty nice shot, yeah, with see the rain in the valley, pretty beautiful. Tripler and Fort Shafter, like right there. Well, we're kind of in the middle of the island, east to west. Mililani is kind of the center, but east to west, you know, Waianae to Hawaii Kai, and that's southeast to southwest part of the island. We're kind of in the middle. One thing I think of when I think Salt Lake, I think a few things, and one of the things I think of is what a good commute. So if you work at Pearl Harbor-Hickam, Tripler, if you jump right on the freeway from there into Punch Bowl, if there is no traffic, it might be like 4 minutes or something. So you're so close to the city, or what we would call town. People coming from Ewa and Mililani, the H1 and the H2 freeway, they kind of merge right here, right at Pro City. So Pro City in the mornings is right where that traffic is the worst on the island. It all bottlenecks right there. Everyone going back that way in the afternoons, it bottlenecks kind of here at Aiea. So Pro City to Aiea, that's a bad stretch of freeway. So if you're here in the mornings, all that's behind you. And in the afternoons, you're coming back from town, you get to come home before the worst part of the traffic. And so my sister-in-law, who lives in Aiea, she'd say that after she'd drop off kids in the morning to school, she'd shoot into town during, you know, traffic on the backside of traffic, but still some traffic. And she'd be in town in like 10 minutes from Aiea. From Salt Lake, a little faster even. So this is a really advantageous place for commuting to town and to large military bases. There's the city, and then usually outside of any city, there's an industrial region. So that's where we are now, which is Mapunapuna. Just all of the warehouses and all of the industry on the mountainside of the airport. So not really anyone living here, really just places to work. Another thing I think of is Surfco, right? Like Surfco Toyota, Surfco Subaru. In fact, I have a Subaru, which you don't need here with all the all-wheel drive and stuff, but we come over here to get our work done, get our safety check and stuff. When I think Moanalua, I think all of the things I said, like that concrete sort of abyss that's the extension of the metro area, and then where it turns into more grass and more mountains. When we bring up the map and talk about this and show you the overhead view, you're gonna be like, Derek, what are you, it's not all concrete. Look at that map. There's just green everywhere. It looks like that on the map, but when you're living around here, you're driving around here, that's not the case. There's no ocean. From Waipahu to Sand Island to Kalihi, it's a pocket of the island, the southern, like, Pearl Harbor screws it all up. Pearl Harbor and the airport. If there were no military at Pearl Harbor, maybe I'd feel different, because it'd be like the kind of fishing village vibe or something, right? But modern day, it's just a concrete place with no beach you can go to. Like, you have to go sideways to go to the beach, right? You have to go to the east or to the west. But I'm used to, when I'm on an island, just being able to go straight to a beach. You know what? I think one of those pet moving places is over here. We've been trying to get these places to do a video with us. When we first started putting out the request, the channel was more small potatoes. So we can probably show them all that we're doing now and maybe get a video for you guys from one of the 2 pet moving services on islands. We'll make that a goal for the coming weeks, is to get that video. When you leave town, when you leave Kalihi on Nimitz, you're gonna go under that bridge, or under the freeway there. So the cars up top, they're on the H1 freeway, and then underneath, that's Nimitz Highway. On the right, we have graffiti, and then military housing. Government property, trespassers. I know some of you guys seen my other video where I screwed up on this. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I said prosecutors will be violated. So many people commented. So Radford Terrace. Who was Radford? It's probably a general or something. Admiral Arthur W. Radford, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was stationed in Hawaii. We pointed out the Radford sign because Radford High School is the high school here in the Salt Lake region, because there is such a military presence here. All these military homes, Hickam, Pearl Harbor, Tripler, Fort Shafter, AMR housing, which we did a whole other video that really showcased a lot of the AMR. We can link it. There's certainly like local non-military kids that go to Radford. It's the most densely populated military area on the island. So I'm not speaking whether something's good or bad. I'm not speaking demographics in that sense, but it is what it is. I mean, you're surrounded by 2/3 of the military on the island is all right here. Some people may like this joke that I heard recently, and some people may not. But I heard someone recently say, if you're from Radford High School, you're not local. I get what they're saying. It is what it is. It's still Hawaii. It's still unique. If you live in military housing, but it's here in Hawaii, it's just a different thing than being at Fort Hood, Texas, or the Coast Guard station on the Great Lakes. All right, hey guys, real quick, it's Derek Okahashi. Pick up the phone if you're not looking at the screen. I have 2 things to go over with you. So number 1, we're totally accessible. No matter where you are in the world, if you have a Hawaii real estate need, or maybe even a mainland real estate need, hit us up. We have our contact information in every video in the description. Number 2, we made a new website called myhawaiihomevalue.com. Go there, we'll give you a free valuation for your home, whether you need to sell in 10 years or in 10 days or never. You can get a free home valuation at myhawaiihomevalue.com. Back to the video. Disclaimer, if there's like some jovialness from me in this video because I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of military or whatever, please don't perceive it as any kind of bias, or it's just, it is what it is. There's all of the military bases around here. You guys know I'm a veteran, right? So 6 years active duty Coast Guard, 10 years reserve, and I'm actually putting in my packet to go IRR. We don't mean to disrespect these, you know, displaced people or anything, but so maybe we'll avoid showing their faces, right? Another thing, here in Salt Lake, or really the airport, just happens to be by Salt Lake, the main post office on the island is here. I worked at the airport when right out of high school, first job. I made it for like 2 weeks. Now I'm here at the end of Nimitz. I can go to Pearl Harbor-Hickam if I stay to the left. I can go into Salt Lake and the Arizona Memorial and the stadium. I could jump on the freeway all the way back to the west side. This is not government property, I don't believe. Near the airport, near Salt Lake, near the exchange. Moanalua Center, I didn't even know how to name. But when you come here, do you think Navy Exchange?
That's what
You think you're at the exchange, right?
Together,
Yeah. In this video, we'll probably get some questions like, hey, Derek, where's the best place to stay? Or where's the best like military housing? This isn't the video for that. So if you want another video on that, let us know. Maybe we'll bring in some military, you know, spouses or people that have lived in all the different housing. And then another question we're probably going to get is, what about the water crisis? What about the fuel in the water? Current day, I haven't been super keeping up on it, but I know that the Navy was ordered to and/or voluntold to clear their tanks. They will be defueled and made to be safe again. Just the general ignorant stance, because I haven't studied it. There's really close proximal places that aren't affected by the fuel today. Like Matt, he lives in Moanalua. He's like upstream, you know? He's not downstream of the fuel. So in the water table, he's not affected, but the people just right over here are. But if I were seriously considering moving, I would just take a deep dive. We'd look at each area, talk with the relevant state authorities or city authorities, make sure that your water's safe if you're gonna buy a house in a certain area here. So where Nimitz Highway becomes Kamehameha Highway. Hickam was behind us, Pearl Harbor, Fort Island. Headquarters for the Commander, U.S. Pacific Pac Fleet. I'm having a brain fire. There's another like Joint Forces Command over here. We could go straight and go into Aiea, Pro City, get on the freeway. But this puts us in like Salt Lake. Oh, today's swap meet day. Going to the Aloha Stadium swap meet is a cool thing for local people, but it's just something that we're not gonna do all the time. A lot of tourist stuff. When I think of Salt Lake, I think of this intersection. And then over there, Ice Palace. So it's an ice skating rink. Hawaii kids grow up ice skating. You guys know that I moved to Hawaii mid-childhood. I had roller skated at a younger age, and I assumed that's what they would do here. And you know, kids harass each other and whatever. And like, what, bro? I never see you go Ice Palace. Bro, we used to go Ice Palace every Friday night. How you stop? You can spray. So like, you know, I guess when you're ice skating, you like stop like this, and I'm competitive, whatever. So I'm getting it down. And then I start spraying. The way I was doing it was like messing up the ice. So this is Cross Point. I'm actually just gonna bust a U-turn. When I think of Salt Lake and I think of like Salt Lake, and I think of a housing place, it's Foster Village. When I think of a townhouse community, I think of Cross Point. I know multiple people that live here. I know a guy that lives here now, my brother-in-law's friend. It's just like one of those bigger townhome community that's here in Salt Lake. So it'd probably be one of the most common places we'd help someone buy a place. This is where you pick up people when they finish the Great Aloha Run. So it's like what, 8 miles and some change?
8 miles.
8 miles. I'm not doing it. There's a house that reminds me of Waipahu. Oh, what's going on over here? Well, this is the perfect like dichotomy of things here, right? So military housing to the right, military housing, civilian older housing to the left. We transitioned from Salt Lake into, I don't know if this is actual, would be called the demarcation of Salt Lake and Moanalua, because all of these buildings here, there's a little mini concrete metropolis jungle of buildings, high rises all over here. So you have everything from some shorter like 3-5 story walk-up buildings to tall buildings like that. I think we've done 2 in the last couple of months, but Mahe did the other one. We'll show you a deal that we did recently down the street. And this kind of shows Moanalua. When I think of Moanalua, I think of Salt Lake, Moanalua. I kind of think of it, that zone, the same way I kind of think of Aiea and Pro City, or a duplex of communities, if you will. But here, Moanalua High School, you know, you have a mix of people who reside in buildings and more of like a city-ish kind of vibe. I'll take you to some of the communities closer to Tripler and Fort Shafter. So Alamahamoi is one of the big streets over there. And then you can look like kind of into Moanalua Valley. So if you look beyond this hill and back into the valley, Moanalua Valley is a unique kind of special place as well. When I think Moanalua versus Salt Lake, I tend to think less concrete. Or maybe I'm just thinking more single family and less condo. Maybe I'm thinking less right next to Pearl Harbor and Hickam, and it's just like you're trapped in the concrete abyss. And here, you know, there's Moanalua Freeway, a highway over there, and there's valleys. You know, go to Halava Valley, Moanalua Valley. How about Moanalua High School? You know anyone from Moanalua High School?
Like 2 people.
2 people? So that's the thing. Moanalua is one of the smaller schools. Our mutual friend Jordan, I used to go to church with him in high school, and he had a bunch of friends that were from Moanalua High School. I remember we went over, hung out, and watched Jamie Foxx, I Might Need Security. One of the best comedy specials ever, but we watched it with their friends, and I just remember them being kind of mellow. Or they're from church, but a little more diverse and mellow than the Campbell High School crowd that I was used to. Did you ever know anyone from here when you were in high school?
Yeah.
You did?
Soccer. Yeah.
Soccer again, yeah. If you don't know someone from here, you're not coming here for a particular reason. Like, you're not coming on a Friday night to the restaurants in Moanalua. Yep, you got the offer submitted?
Yeah.
Cool. You might be on YouTube, by the way.
Everything stays same except you have those funds to go non-contingent.
I think if we are non-contingent, it sounds like we have a good chance of being in first place. If we are contingent, I have a feeling we'll be back up. I don't remember the exact, I could look it up on my phone, but it's something to the effect of they were willing to go 425 or 30,000. That's what I thought it would take to get the home. There was something about it to where it actually wasn't as competitive. You know what I think it was? It was on a lower floor, and there had just been one that sold on a higher floor. And so I think people were mostly holding out for the higher floor. But there were still multiple offers. There weren't like 15 or 20 offers, but there were still multiple offers. As I was feeling it out, I asked certain questions that led to the listing agent maybe giving me an inclination of what we were competing against. And I explained to the buyers, I said, look, here's the risk to benefit of us going lower, because I know I have you at 425 or whatever it was. I was like, I think we can get this done at 405. I think. I don't know for sure. And we just went through the conversation. Well, what would you do if it was you? How bad do you want it? We can write an escalation. There's all of these strategies. And long story short, we got for 405 and it appraised like 20,000 over. At the peak of the market, we got into this one under appraised value. Can't promise those results on every single one, but that one was a cool one. So this is Fairway Garden. One of the cool things is a lot of these buildings have really nice views, actually. Kind of like this way you could ball on a budget. Get an ocean and mountain view or one or the other. That otherwise in Ala Moana might, a different view. Ala Moana, you're right there on the ocean, but still, you might pay $800,000, over $1 million for similar views in a high rise. Whereas here, older buildings, amenities are not the same as a lot of these things I'm referencing in town. But if you're just simple and you want to be at the top of a building with a view, Salt Lake might be the place to do it. It's a low inventory real estate market. You don't see properties go for sale in here very often. A lot of families that have been here a long time, grandma still lives here, etc. So in coming decades, you may see more liquidation from trusts, etc. But our office had a Moanalua Valley listing last year, and it was hot. It's the only thing. It was in bad condition. It sold for like 1.3 million or something. Moanalua Valley is like a hot commodity because that proximity to town, being able to shoot into town, but then dive into a valley like this. Some people may prefer the Moanalua High School region. This is a spot. Like if I can get a house here and flip it, or even I could probably live here with my family. There's not a lot to do because it's just one street in and there's this park, and that's about it. There's not a lot to do here, but in terms of like a place to raise a kid, or you're gonna know your neighbors walking down the street, walking your dog, this is just that quiet kind of feel. And I mean, just look, sorry, the water might get on the camera, but like, look at that backdrop, like this is almost like you feel like you're not on Oahu, you're in Maui or Kauai or something. And that's a good reminder that Oahu is one of the Hawaiian islands and has the same beauty, but different versions of the same beauty as all the other islands. We just have a lot more homes. So you just got to know where to go, know where to escape to, maybe know where to live and where to buy your real estate. We're on Moanalua Freeway. So when you're coming east to west, west to east, people pick. Are you going to go if you're going to Honolulu, do you go H1 way or Moanalua Freeway? Moanalua Freeway is a little shorter. And on H1, there's more cops, so you get more tickets. When you get here, you start to feel like you're in Moanalua. You've passed AMR military housing, Kaiser, Tripler's coming up. Kaiser's right behind us. So there's a certain thing that when I was a kid, I felt like I was, I'm passing Moanalua. Do you know what it is?
Moanalua Gardens.
Oh, the park?
Yeah, the big monkey.
But what was on the freeway on the right-hand side?
Oh, the clock.
Huh?
The clock.
No, the coffin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
The coffin. So as a kid, when we were going right here, the mortuary's right there. They always had a coffin sitting in the window. And now they don't have it anymore. I don't know if the city told them to take it down or whatever. We're going to eat dinner in town on a Friday night, and I'm like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? When you pass the coffin, you were like, okay, we're getting close to town. That was just like a real quick little Hawaii story for you guys. We did a U-turn at Fort Shafter. So Fort Shafter, it's just a smaller Army base. People in the Army stationed at Shafter, they might be a little more inclined to go to the windward side than people, the east side, than people getting stationed at Schofield. Kailua, Kaneohe are just like right there, 10, 12-minute drive. One thing in Moanalua, all the streets are like a la this, a la that. And so this street here is a la Mahamoi. A couple of things happening right now. One, I can't find my wife's family's old house. I'm not gonna show the actual house, but it looks something like this one. Older, maybe actually looks something more like an older, smaller house with a carport. And it was on this street, but it was like way down on the Makai side of the street. And my mother-in-law, because it was her uncle or step-uncle's house, he passed away. They were selling it. Little bitty plantation house, so old. Like, you ever been in a house from like the 50s that has like stainless steel counters? It's almost like a scullery, you know, like an industrial kitchen. It had those stainless counters, post and pier foundation, so it was like a crawl space under the house. It was kind of slanted, so you know that the post and the pier kind of fall in certain areas. If you put a marble on the ground, it would roll. When they found out it was going to sell, multiple neighbors wanted the house, and they're like draining retirement and inheritances to get the home. Not because this is the most luxury real estate in Hawaii or even has the best ocean views, although these actually have some ocean views of Pearl Harbor and the airport. But it's just that this is a mature neighborhood where a 40-year-old son is dying to live close to 80-year-old mom and dad, you know, next door. MyHawaiiHomeValue.com for sellers, or you know what, just for refinancers, for homeowners. You want to sell in a year from now, it's better to understand your home's value today. My friend lived there, sold her house during the pandemic, got her a house down the street off market so that Auntie, 95 years old, could live in the home on the first floor. The good news is we're able to reposition into something that she got for probably $100,000 undervalued. MyHawaiiHomeValue.com. My name is Derek Okahashi. My team is called Core Team Hawaii. I'm just obsessed with this stuff. I love real estate. I love talking about it. I love helping. So please, please hit us up.